Teens are really smart. When they're in pain, a lot of it is not because they don't know why. They know why, but people aren't listening. We're trying to help teens build genuine connection, not just like connect with a stranger, vent about your problems, and say goodbye. And I think internally, it's what we're constantly asking ourselves is like, is this actually fun? Does this feel forced? Is this lame? Like,
all of these other brands, without naming any names, they're not looking at what is going through these teens' head. They're like trying to give calm. They're like, oh, no, we're serious. We're here for you. But like, that's not life.
There's sort of this adult instinct to like minimize whatever somebody who's young tells you, because you as an adult have lived so many cycles of that experience that you know that it's not that serious. If you're a 14-year-old and it's the first time that it's ever happened to you and they're minimizing it, there's something so invalidating about that.
What we do internally is like we read a lot of conversations, we do a lot of research, because at the end of the day, like we're not living as a teen right now. We all know what it's like when we had that experience, but life is different. Like teens are growing up with AI, just a very different environment.
I don't think I've ever actually shared the story of how he got with the name Somethings. It's a super annoying name in a lot of ways, because when you ask people like, what are you working on? They're like, I'm working on some things right now. They're like, what are you working on? Like, I'm working on something. It's like, no, tell me what you're working on. It's like, no, that's a name. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you, my two little product design besties. One of the things that I have loved since I've brought you all on is having other people who are nerds about design to talk with. Because for a while on our team, it was just me. Now it's you all. So thank you for being here. We're talking today about Somethings design. I think one of my ambitions for Somethings very early on was to up-level the quality of design for products in healthcare, and specifically for products in Medicaid. I felt like I was actually very inspired by Stripe. One of their core theories was they wanted to up-level the world's technical documentation as a totally secondary mission to their actual mission, which is to help build the infrastructure of financial payments on the internet. And I was always very inspired by that, because if Stripe's documentation was super, super amazing, it's almost like shamed all of their competitors to have better documentation. And so I sort of felt that way with Somethings. Like, could we actually bring like the world's best product design, the world's best visual design into the space of like youth mental health, which is very traditionally kind of been overlooked when it comes to design. You two all are the brains behind that. And today we're going to be talking about design philosophy. Before we do, I'd love to just do quick intros. So if you could introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background prior to Somethings, and then talk a little bit about why you joined Somethings, and we'll go from there. So Melanie, why don't you start?
Okay. So I'm Melanie. I've been at Somethings since July, which is wild. It feels like it's been longer. Before Somethings, I was at an investing startup called Titan. And I've spent the last 9 years actually working in startups because I guess you could say I'm addicted to the chaos. I love just the camaraderie and the creativity that comes with building something from scratch. And it's been a lot of fun channeling that energy towards something that's meaningful to me. And I guess that segues into why I joined Somethings. When we met, I was in between jobs, kind of figuring out my next move. And I was really searching for an environment that spoke to me, and I wanted to work on a product that I actually cared about. Mental health has always been part of my world. My dad's a psychiatrist, my mom's a social worker, so we talked a lot about it growing up. But I've never really, I guess, like I've had my qualms with products in the industry. I feel like a lot of them are just miss the mark in terms of really giving people what they really need. Either they're too clinical, too techy. So AI has really transformed the space. But when we met and you told me about what Somethings was doing, it really clicked for me, because I love that we're approaching this very human problem with a human first solution. And I also, I have to say, I was really excited about the brand. I really like to build a space for teens that they feel is cool and fun and that they like want to be a part of. Is like really, I think, is like a really smart move, and I'm excited to be a part of this.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Ule. Give us the intro.
The one and only Ole. I am a Swedish former professional skier turned product designer, so full 180. I competed up until I was around 21 at a professional level. Then that my career ended due to various injuries. There's not a lot of bodies that could actually hold up for skiing.
You're like 8 feet tall too, so that would be
should
really hard.
Yeah. I like how squooshed down a little. And I joined some things. It's like 8 months ago now. As the first designer, it's been a whirlwind. It's been the greatest times of my life. We were talking about just before this podcast. We were talking about my first day with you, and we were working on a project. You said we jumped on a meeting at 8 a.m. and then at 8 p.m. you said, "Let's meet. Let's talk about it." And that first day was the most stressful day that I've had in my life, and I've never worked that hard. But it was also the most fun day I've ever had. And I realized that, not to talk up you too much, but this is a guy, no matter the product, no matter the design, no matter what the brand is, it's always going to change. Nothing is constant in life. This is a guy that you can follow to build whatever the teams need and want. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you for the hype. I didn't expect that, but I appreciate it. We're not here to talk about me though. We're here to talk about our design philosophy, which I think is probably a little bit unique when it comes to mental health products, when it comes to just the world of what we're doing. So I want to kind of just dive in. I think we spend more time talking about teenagers, talking to teenagers about their mental health than probably anyone in the world. I truly believe that. I think from day one, my background being in product design and user research, I have sort of tried to take it very seriously that we are building for real users and we have to build with them and alongside them. And I think we've learned a lot about what it means to be a teen with their mental health. And so I'd love to maybe hear you guys speak a little bit. Like, what have you learned about youth mental health, teen mental health since you've been here? And maybe like, what is something that you've learned that you were really surprised learning, and what is something that now maybe like seems really obvious to you about the kids that we're serving, about why they're coming? Maybe I'll start with Ule. Like, what has surprised you about these kids?
It's a really cool experience because everybody is well aware of the macro perspective on teen mental health. It's awful. We can all look at the data and it's terrible. But to actually get an opportunity to see it in a micro perspective, see what actual teens are talking about and what they're going through, is fascinating. I wish we could give everybody in the world a glimpse into how absolutely terrible a lot of people are feeling today. And we talk about product a lot, but it all comes down. We get often very philosophical because the mind is there's a lot to the mind. There's a lot that we don't know. And at the end of the day, what I think I've learned that I take away with understanding the teens is that lonely. We got to build connections. We got to build community. We got to build real human relationships to alleviate this loneliness.
So you feel like the root of the challenges that many kids are coming from, it's because they're lonely, not because they're dealing with some specific issue or they need some coaching on something. It's truly like they're just lonely.
They're super, super lonely. And I think there are all these issues. You can deep dive into all of these branches and variables of like what is their actual personal experiences. But at the end of the day, all of those things are, I think, not necessarily an outcome of having felt loneliness, but can be solved through alleviating loneliness.
What are your thoughts? What surprised you?
I think, like, stepping out of this space, whenever I think of mental health, I think our mental health products or support, it's always helping people express their emotions or articulate their feelings. So I think coming in, I was kind of thinking maybe teens just don't really know what to say. They don't really know how they feel, which is still true. I mean, it takes a lot of brain development to be able to articulate your thoughts. But I think if anything, it's further confirmed that teens are really smart and they actually have a lot to say, and they feel really frustrated that adults either aren't listening or are talking down to them. And like you can hear it in like the passion of what when they really connect with their mentor, they're like going off and they talk about like adults at school who aren't respecting them, or like that they're smarter than their principal or whatever it is. And it just is a reminder that it's like when they're in pain, a lot of it is not because they don't know why. It's because they know why, but people aren't listening, and they need to have a space where they feel safe to express themselves and know that it's not just like they're not just expressing themselves to someone who's half listening. It's to someone who actually gets it. So I think like when analyzing successful mentorships, it becomes really obvious that it's like the teens that meet someone who treat them like a friend, who treat them with respect, that when they feel safe, they really open up and they really like it's a beautiful thing to see. And it just goes to show how like we need to give our teens more credit.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. And I think there's sort of this adult instinct to like minimize whatever somebody who's young tells you, because you as an adult have lived so many cycles of that experience that you know that it's not that serious, right? Like we've all at this point probably been through enough cycles of having a romantic crush and then getting broken up with to where we know that when that happens, you get over it, you move on, you find someone else, right? If you're a 14-year-old and it's the first time that it's ever happened to you, and you're trying to tell someone how big it's making you feel and and they're minimizing it because rightfully their experience has told them that, you'll get through this. There's something so invalidating about that. And I do find that as such like a simple and obvious thing when you say it, of like take kids seriously, that in practice almost never happens with parents, with schools, school teachers, with friends even. Like it's a very interesting dynamic. So I'm glad you called that out. We spend all day sort of trying to figure out how to alleviate loneliness, how to help give kids a space to do this. Like when it comes to actually doing this, like we're obviously here with some things. We try to build relationships, try to build human connection. And as easy as that sounds, it's not easy at all. So what's like a nuance about the way that you have to actually do that in order to get kids to open up, to feel trust, to do all the things that we want to do? And maybe actually, maybe I'll ask this, Melanie, like what are we trying to do with the mentors and the kids? Like what are we trying to do with them?
I think first and foremost, we're trying to help teens build genuine connection, not just like connect with a stranger, vent about your problems, and say goodbye. Like, and that takes time. And I think internally, it's what we're constantly asking ourselves is like, is this actually fun? Does this feel forced? Is this lame? Like, it doesn't. You don't have to be a teen to struggle with loneliness. It's hard. Like, it's hard to meet people. Like, meeting people is one thing. Making friends, and then all of that goes in between of feeling like, is it mutual? Do they like me? It's a really, and teens are feeling that already with their friends, and they're smart too, so they know that the mentor is being paid to talk to them. But the mentors, even if it's their job, they're doing this because they care. And I think those mentors that really care and are showing that, hey, like, yeah, I'm doing this job because I was like you and I want to get to know you, and you feel like a younger sibling or a friend. Like those are the more successful mentorships. So I think it's us training our mentors to speak, to not talk down to them, to speak their language, to, take time to get to know them as a person before diving into like their problems. And then from the teens' perspective, like giving them agency. Like we talk a lot about how can we design a space where they can feel like they're in control, where they can express themselves freely. Like we don't want to ever tell them what to do or like give them homework. They have enough homework. So it's like, how can we make them feel like this is fun and engaging, or it's like a place where they can express themselves freely and like feel like the person that they're talking to genuinely cares about them.
Respond to that. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts around like in practice, what does that actually mean? Like what are things that you think we've done really well? And maybe what are times that we've failed, or like we thought we were helping get to that outcome and then it just like fell in our face? Like what are some things that stick out?
Melanie hit the spot. That's exactly what we're trying to do. But the big question becomes, how do you build a product at scale that feels unique and personal to each and every user? And we've made some assumptions around what we think could help improve not only the experience for the teams, but also the mentors who are at the end of the day the vessel of our experience. I think right or wrong, there's different implementations, but we have given mentors tools to use AI tools, and we almost became the annoying teacher or parent who told the mentors what to do, and we said, we want you to be able to help as many teams as possible, so we're going to give you the tools that you need. We're going to give you the AI tools that you need to make that happen. But what ended up happening was that we forced ourselves into the mentor's workflow, and they're saying, actually, like, now I'm not able to be me. So we have to find, so I think that our push for like giving mentors more tools to be able to support more people with the help of AI is the right push, but we have to be very mindful of the implementation of it.
Let's take a bit of a sidebar to talk about AI since you brought it up, because I think it's sort of the hot question, right? And everyone's talking about. And I think, as Melanie mentioned, like we have a very strong shared perspective on this, which is the problem that we are addressing is social disconnection. It is not anything else. And so unfortunately, AI chat as a therapeutic modality is another antisocial medium, right? It just drives people to do less pro-social behavior and sort of encourage antisocial behavior. I think we all feel very strongly about that. However, to Ule's point, like we do see AI as sort of like, the way I look at it is like the next version of software capability. And just like before, cloud computing, you could really only do on-premise computing. Now we have sort of this new capabilities that we can do really exciting things with software with. What do you see as the way that AI should be used? And maybe not just at some things, but if the goal is to build more human connection, like what is your philosophy on where AI should play in? Yeah, do you have any thoughts there?
It's the stuff that you might not think about as AI, but kind of behind the scenes that just kind of makes your life easier. Like, at work, like we used to take notes while we were having meetings, which seems like, not too far away, but like now we don't need to do that. I mean, when you think about what taking notes does, is it does help you listen, but it's also harder to engage and harder to be present. So like if AI can help summarize the conversation you're having, or help let's talk about the mentor side for a second. I'll start with some things, but like the mentor can be more present if having a video call with a teen, if they're not worried about like, okay, wait, what did they say? And then it could just be like, okay, then they know to follow up, and they are engaging with more than one teen, so naturally it is easy to forget. But if the AIs can be like, okay, this teen's birthday is today, like send them a birthday, or like, hey, you guys talked about this person's like this drama that happened at school. Like, doesn't have to say, hey, so prescriptive, like say this, but just to jog memory. And it's like, oh wow, I like, it's just enhancing what they would already do. So I think if like that ethos can also be applied to the teen side, where it's like we shouldn't be prompting the teen to journal if they're like, you know, they don't want to be told what to do per se, but it could be like, here's like a memory of you, and this is what you talked about with you and your mentor a few weeks ago. Like maybe like if you want, you could journal about it, or like, I don't know. I think it's more just as long as it's kind of behind the scenes, like I said, enhancing what human connection already, like enhancing that what would already happen, rather than kind of jumping in the room and trying to kind of dictate how conversations should flow or and whatnot.
I think it's a good point. And I sort of like, I see it as like if every mentor had a little um, another person that was just sitting on their shoulder who like knew everything about the kid and knew everything about them and knew everything about sort of when was the right time to do stuff and when was the right time to be concerned, when was the right time to be playful, and it could just sort of whisper in their ear of like, hey, you should maybe do this right now. And the mentor, the humans don't have to do anything. They can decide how they want to act, but giving sort of people the ability to be more thoughtful in real time, to be more remember things that are hard to remember, right? Like we all know how good it feels when someone like remembers your third cousin that you talked about one time and you see him a year later. They're like, "How's your third cousin?" You're like, "How did you remember that?" Like it feels really good. I think that's sort of part of the humanness. I sort of one of the examples I give, you guys are probably bashful, you wouldn't brag about this, but one of the features that I really like, it's such a small feature, but it sort of encapsulates like how I think we think about human connection, which is like we've got a tool where mentors can input the teen's interests, and then it will just go every day and scrape the internet for updates on that teen's interests. So that way, that mentor always has updated information in case their favorite artist, Billie Eilish, drops a new album that they can go and engage with and then come back, right? They're not, it's not asking them to do anything other than more deeply engage with the things that kids care about. And it helps, like that's not something that for a caseload of people would be that easy to do, but it's so easy to do when we've got a software system that can sort of do those things. So I'm very excited about it. I know you all are too. Let's dive in a little bit to like, what do you feel like, we're taking a bit of a different perspective from the product. We're really focused on human connection. We're really focused on engaging kids. Whereas I think there's a lot of space in the youth mental health space that's really focused on clinical care, more formal settings, making things easy to access through virtual modalities. But we've really done a lot to sort of change the whole way we think about delivering care as well. So we're taking a very different perspective there. We're also taking a very different perspective when it comes to the brand. Let's start by talking about, like, I don't mean this to say like to badmouth anyone, but like what did you all feel like did not resonate with the products and brands that were out there today that made us feel like we needed to build something new for teens? Like was there any things that stood out to you as like, I think we needed to be different there?
A question you asked earlier was what is the one thing you've learned about youth mental health? And I what I've learned is that there's a lot of teens that have seeked out mental health and said, actually, that was horrible. It was horrible to talk to a therapist. They didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't listen to what I was saying. And I think like that needs to be represented in all parts of our entire org that we're here and that we're listening. And I think what other companies actually are unsuccessful with is that they're not looking at like what is going through these teens' head. Like what it's all this very it's like, to me it's like if I gave emotions to all of these other brands without naming any names, they're like trying to give calm. They're like trying to give like, oh no, we're serious, we're here for you. But like that's not life. That's not reality. Well, as we all know who have lived life for a couple of years, it's messy.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, it's like, I mean, I'll just throw out words, but too clinical, a little boring. Like kind of again, not giving teens a voice. And I think, dare I say, like not cool. Like it's not cool to like I think we're moving in a better direction where people are more proud to talk about mental health or more open than they were, at least when I was growing up. But it's like it's still stigmatized. And I think to have a brand that's actually really cool that people are excited and proud of is not the norm.
It's interesting you say not cool because I totally feel that. And I was thinking about this because I was talking to someone else who has a very successful company in the mental health space, very different adult, not youth, but we were talking about it and I was like, what is cool? Like cool is the person who is authentically living their life and crushing it, not because they're succeeding or there's a success metric, but because like they're living their authentic life. Mental health is the opposite of that. Like if you are struggling with your mental health, you're by definition not living your authentic life in some way that is making you unhappy, right? And so by definition, the category of mental health is not cool. That's a very hard challenge because we know, based on all the conversations that we've had, how important it is that these kids perceive what they are doing in their identity as cool. And so I think it's been a really interesting challenge to try to think about like, how do we frame a mental health product, a mental health brand around feeling cool?
It's kind of interesting that you say that because we keep saying we're we're this company that starts so much from the user. Like we meet the teens where we're at. We even want to have a brand that is so in line with what they're doing. But at the same time, we also must find our own independency. And as like a company, as a brand, become that like we are living our best life. And because that's kind of like how I interpret what you're saying. And like someone that is cool is someone that is just like out there going for it.
Yeah.
And being themselves and living their best life. So how can we do that as like a brand?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the new brand, because we, part of this podcast was we're launching our new brand visual identity. And we wanted to sort of talk a little bit about the philosophy behind it. Do either of you all have any thoughts on sort of like the previous version of our brand and maybe what was unsuccessful for us that we felt like we needed an upgrade?
I think it wasn't bad. There were aspects that were like coolish. I think that when I remember just like looking at something's website, it did feel a little clinical, and I know that's partly intentional and a little bit juvenile. I think that's the part that's actually really interesting. We're supporting a 13 to 19-year-old, so in a way, like maybe that resonates more with their younger crowd. But I think when you talk to teens, they want to be taken seriously, and they want to be older. They want to be like, they just like can't wait to grow up and get like beyond this kind of difficult, icky period. But I think that what was missing is like it wasn't mature enough in a way. Like we don't want our brand to be overly polished, because that's not authentic, or that's not a good reflection of teens. Like they're a little bit messy, a little rebellious, but like it needed to feel a little bit more mature and a little bit more sophisticated, because they at least identify as feeling more mature and sophisticated than we might perceive them to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any additional thoughts?
I mean, that sums it up pretty well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I felt too was there was something about it that was right, which I think we got right, which is sort of like the ethos of the brand needing to feel almost like a streetwear company. I think we got that right, but in terms of the implementation of it, I think there was a lot to be desired in terms of the cool factor, in terms of the visual refinement. Like there was just a lot that I think we didn't get right, and we were missing a core like visual theme and element that tied like the ethos of the brand together, which for us it turned out was graffiti, which I think is a pretty interesting and bold statement, given that, like you said, I think a lot of people in the space are trying to be calm and trying to be clinical. So do you want to maybe speak to like why graffiti as like the graphic element?
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, there's so much to it. The first implementation of it wasn't graffiti. The first implementation was this like noisy blur. And we saw that as like, oh, this is very symbolic of what goes on in your head when you are struggling with mental health. Like life can feel a little foggy and so, but what I think I actually like saw, I was sitting at the desk and had my monitor up with like what we were looking at with this blurry noise thing, and then I was like looked out the window, and then at the brick wall there was some graffiti, and I saw that and I was like, no, but that's like life is not foggy. Like it's messy. It's like, and the beauty, there's so much symbolism within graffiti. There's a sense of self-expression. There's a sense of rebelliousness. There's a sense of not being perfect. It's so yeah, I think the graffiti has some real true beauty to it. I think we as a brand are able to self-express with graffiti, and I think we're also able to, in the same moment, meet the teens where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in a way it comes back to something we talked about earlier, which is like teens do have things to say. They just need a platform, or they need to feel safe enough they need to feel safe so that they can actually say it. And we felt like, if anything, we want a brand that's empowering them to be themselves and to and to share their thoughts, because their thoughts matter. So graffiti kind of captures that ethos too, which is like, no boundaries, just draw, just paint or whatever. Whereas like the blur felt like, if anything, it was kind of putting teens in that box, saying like they don't really know how they're feeling. It's all kind of numb. So it felt more positive or more promising, more empowering.
Yeah. And, we had a conversation too, which is like, are we empowering vandalism by doing this? Which uh, we hope we are not.
Hope we're not.
The thing that I think pushed it over the edge for us was like, it so perfectly encapsulated the emotion of like what it's like to be an adolescent. Like the moments of pure joy, the moments of pure anger, of frustration, just like living life in like the most raw form because you're a 13-year-old and you're learning how to do it felt so right. And I think when we, when we thought about this idea of being cool, like, it felt really cool to be like the streetwear brand of like, we want you to express yourself by, you know, hypothetically spray painting the graffiti inside of our app where you could talk to your mentor, but like that I think was like the emotion that we were really trying to channel, and it really worked well. What other sort of like themes or ideas or inspiration did you all have when we were going through this process of trying to figure out what we wanted to do? Like, is there anything that you felt really inspired by in terms of this process of trying to figure out what's our identity?
I think it's like being authentically teen, which I'm like the older person on the team. Sometimes I feel like, oh shit, I'm self-conscious about that. Like, I forget, it feels like a long time ago. But I think like what we do internally is like we read a lot of conversations, we do a lot of research, because at the end of the day, like we don't necessarily, we're not living as a teen right now. And like we all know what it's like when we had that experience, but life is different. Like teens are growing up with AI and with like just a very different environment. So I think it's like we have bets, putting them out there and like just testing and being open to adapt to what they need. I think like as a brand, we need to constantly be like a mirror to the teen experience, I think that the moment that they see themselves in our brand, like that's when we know we've done it right, because at the end of the day we are a brand that is for the teens.
How does this the emotional capture that we have condensed into this graffiti and brand that we have, how do you all see that being implemented in the product, and not how does graffiti get implemented visually in the product? Like, how do we continue to build this sort of emotional resonance with kids into the experience of some things and talking to someone when it comes to mental health and wellness?
A couple of things. It's almost like everything that we ship and everything that we build should be tested throughout these pillars, call them pillars. It's like, is this helping, empowering the team to be self-expressive or personal or unique? Similar to like graffiti is self-expression, purposeful, unique, like, or is this, is whatever we ship, it could be in the smallest little feature. We can talk about, maybe it's calendar feature, but like, how is this actually empowering someone to find resonance in those pillars? So like our brand is truly that.
When teens are inside or using, like thinking it's like a physical space, but they're using the Somethings product or talking to their mentor, like it should feel uniquely Somethings, in a way that like if our brand captures this energy and like they feel like we want them to feel like they're their best selves. And that, a lot of that is, if that's on the mentor. Like there's only so much the product can do, and if they have a great relationship, hopefully the mentor is bringing them out. So it's like indirectly us giving the mentor the tools to coach their teens or to be better friends to their teens is like supporting our goal of helping them feel like empowered and like their ability to just express themselves more freely, whether it's like the activities that we have, like connection cards, so they can go to school and feel more confident. Like that's awesome. Like there's so many different ways, but I think more like, if anything, like, yeah, the decoration of the visuals is not the point. It's like we need, if we can throughout in this when they use some things and when they talk to their mentor, if they can leave that environment feeling more confident and ready to kind of express themselves in the real world, like that's it. Then we've built a successful product.
Awesome. What are you guys most excited about? This is a new chapter for us. We've got a new brand. We've got a new design philosophy that we're showing to the world? Like what makes you all most excited about waking up every day, working and building this product? Maybe I'll start with you, Melanie.
It's only just the beginning. I think that I love it. Like at this stage, like the next year, the product is going to look so different, and just like the we're building so fast and we're iterating quickly that it's just really cool to see to experience in real time what this product is going to be like in state in phases. And like selfishly, I just love coming to work and building a product with people who really care about the same thing. So it's like it all comes from a place of like excitement and passion for the mission and for helping the teens. So I guess it's like it's more like I have an idea of where the product will be headed, and I have like my own like little things that I want to build or design. But it's like there's also just the beauty in not really knowing and kind of seeing how this will evolve.
100%. I totally agree. I'm super excited. Like it's in the big things and the small things. I strongly believe that this brand is going to resonate really well with the teens. And like this starts from us. We were three smart people that have good taste in design, whatever taste means. It's all subjective. But when we like did the first deck internally with the new brand, we're all like, whoa, that was really cool. Like that's awesome. And like if we feel that, I strongly believe that like if we put it out there to the teens, they're gonna resonate and they're gonna feel what we're feeling. So I'm super excited about that. And then, I mean, products are forever changing. So what am I most excited about the future of our product? I think the beauty of the future of our product is that we're so adaptable. We're like modular as a team almost. We're like finding new learnings at all moments, and we're ready to shift. We're ready to like listen to what's going on to the teens and shape a product thereafter.
Super cool. You mentioned something way earlier in the conversation that I noted, but it was sort of about how teens get talked down to, and I noted that they're sort of seeking independence, and it kind of reminded me that I don't think I've ever actually shared the story of how we got up with the name some things publicly. So I'm going to do that now because I think it's interesting and it's relevant. And as we're launching the new brand, one thing that is not changing is our name. So we were like really early days in our design research, and the most people, I mean, I don't share the story that broadly, but when we started the company, I knew we wanted to start something in youth mental health, but I didn't exactly know what. And the approach that I take to every project I ever do is just start by talking to the end users that we're trying to serve. I probably interviewed, I want to say, I don't know, 20 kids over the course of maybe like the first month. So like a lot of interviews. And there was all of the themes of what we're doing today came in those interviews. But there was this one interview from this girl that we talked about for like the first year. It was so fascinating. And we were asking her about what did she want out of life? Like, what was your vision for life? And this girl's like 14 years old. And she's like, the only thing I want out of life is to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. And we're like, really? Out of all the things. That's what she's like Vogue magazine. We're like, all right, let's rock with it.
She has good taste.
It's a good taste, yeah. And so we asked her a bunch of questions about this because it was so fascinating. We're like, this is the last answer we expected. And someone from our team asked a follow-up question and said, okay, so like after you're on the cover of Teen Vogue, how are you going to feel? And she looked at us like we had like murdered her dog. Like it was like, she was so angry. She was like, Teen Vogue is the most disgusting magazine ever. I never want to be on Teen Vogue. How dare you say something like that? And we were all taken aback. We're like, whoa, that's a very, like, to be someone who's like, my vision for my life is to be on Vogue, and then to absolutely hate Teen Vogue more than anything. We sort of like made the connection there in a very like emotionally resonant way of like, these teens don't want to be called teenagers. They don't want to be patronized to be different. Like what she wanted to be was the successful, high status adult. She didn't want to be the person that gets labeled as the teen. And so we got sort of like going down this long conversational rabbit hole about like, why are teens so isolated and patronized as teenagers? And somebody just threw out this, they were like, oh, well, the 20 somethings are different and the 30 somethings are different. And we're like, wait, teenagers are called teenagers. They're not included in the age groups. And so we were like, well, why don't we just instead of calling them the 10 somethings, like let's just call them the somethings. They're the first like decade bucket.
Yeah.
We get to include them, make them not feel patronized. We don't have to call them teenagers that they don't want. And like the idea kind of stuck from there, and it really resonated. And it's a super annoying name in a lot of ways, because when you ask people like, what are you working on? They're like, oh, I'm working on some things right now. They're like, what are you working on? "Oh, I'm working on something. It's like, well, no, tell me what you're working on. It's like, no, that's a name. So it's quirky, but it really resonated. And I think I tell the story because everything about what we do, like, it's for the teens. Like, it is through our DNA, through our name. Like, it's literally about making these kids feel more included, feel more heard, feel more understood. And like, it's in the DNA. So it's in the DNA of the new brand. It's in the DNA of everything you guys work on. It's in the DNA of our name, which I love. And I think is really cool and exciting.
I hope we can check if she lands on Vogue, the teen.
Yeah, we'll definitely check. We'll definitely follow up. It might be a few years. I haven't seen it yet. I asked this question sort of at the end of all of my interviews, like, if you could snap your fingers and just change anything about youth mental health, like, what do you hope for the future? Like, what would you do if you could just snap it, sort of guarantee a future of youth mental health?
The way that you frame that question is fascinating, because if you tell me that, then I'll do the Thanos referencing. Teens are going to get this Thanos movie reference.
No teens are going to watch this, unfortunately.
No, but snap the fingers. No one has an issue with mental health. But that's not the way forward. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to alleviate problems with your mental health. What we're trying to do is set you up for success so that you can deal with your problems. There's no such thing as like solved. No more mental health issues for me for life. That's not a thing. It's about creating. I think maybe we mentioned it earlier, but like the tool set that you need to go through life. So if I would snap my fingers, I would give all teens that tool set.
Very cool.
If I could snap my fingers, I think two things that come to mind. One is mental health needs a rebrand as a whole, not just some things. I think like the way we talk about mental health, like, it's great. It's actually really awesome to see that a lot of schools are adding like social emotional learning into their curriculum, and a lot more teens or kids are even seeing a therapist, or people are more open about their mental health, but it's still a little bit icky. And also just the word, like, I don't know if teens even know what depression or anxiety is. Like, we're throwing these terms that are really hard to even understand. And so it's like, how do we expect them to even be able to verbalize how they're feeling if they're like told that they're like struggling with this thing that is like, really hard to put into words. So it's like rebrand means more than just like making products cool, but like the language we use and also just the way we think about it. Like, I would hope that from more of an accessibility standpoint, that all teens can go to school, go to gym as required, and maybe just like always have like their own like therapist in their pocket or their own mentor in their pocket, like someone that they can talk to. Like, if that's normalized, if everyone just kind of has that person that they can vent to, like, that would be awesome. So yeah, I just think right now, mental health still feels like it's just not accessible. A lot of people, like, it's pretty wild to think that if teens need support, they have to navigate insurance, they have to talk to their parents, like, they have to jump through a lot of hoops. And as a teenager, that's a lot to expect. So I think, just giving mental health support to like any teen who wants it and making that kind of like the norm, it would be, I think, a very, very cool future.
Super cool. All right, you're on mic. Is there anything else you want to tell the world about youth mental health throughout what we're doing here?
We're fixing it. We're solving it. So don't worry. Sit tight.
But if you are listening to this and you want to work in the space, definitely go do it, because it's a big problem.
It's a huge problem.
That's weird to laugh at that. But all right. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Check out somethings.com if you want to see our new branding. Much more to come. These lovely people are spending their entire lives trying to solve this problem. So thank you guys for being a part of this journey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.